Good evening, Kaya. Hello, everybody. Hi. Oh my goodness, this was unplanned, but I really wanted to get over here on the tube for you this week a little bit. Hello. Oh my gosh, everybody's coming in. Hi, Lisa and Dee. Yeah, welcome, Alan, Katie, good to see you. Soul Rose, hola, Navy Vet, John. Every time I see you liking a post, it's like, I'm a what? It cracks me up, The network, hello, welcome. All right, everybody. So, as promised, this will be the place where we will review the case regarding Mr. Robinson and the assassination of Charlie Kirk. All right. This is going to be the safest place for us to do it so that I can actually say words. So I thought that would be great for us to take a peek here at this. I haven't looked at it yet. I put it in a folder, so I didn't look at it. I was like, don't look at it. But it was tough. Hello. Hi, Katie, Cynthia. Oh, welcome. Hi, Chris, Lisa. Oh, there you go, Lisa. Well, and just to here too. Oh my goodness gracious. I hope you feel better soon. Hello, Kristen. Hello. So, as many of you may know already, or have some idea, of course, the talk's going down. And it's looking like that December date's going to be the grand finale. And then, there's the March date. So, of course, during this time of transition, we will be coming over here. Now, the Tube is the only place where I actually schedule my lives, and I schedule them for Tuesdays. And I think pretty much every other week it's worked out for me to do them on Tuesdays. But happy Friday, that's right. I think, one of the other really fun times, I do have a Patreon. It's not really set up though yet. One of the fun things I really would like to do though is a second day here on the Tube. So over this next week, I'll kind of see what's going on, come and hang out over on the Tube for a little bit to kind of figure out what's what. Oh, thank you so much. Hate speech, right? Is it free speech? Yeah, that's tough. Most hate speeches statutes are set as an enhancement to another crime. So if you're committing another crime and using hate speech, it'll bump up the level of your crime, right? So rather than just words alone are hard to do and get a full charge on, even for hate speech. But you can try. But every jurisdiction is different, everyone. So make sure you're looking at your own, excuse me, jurisdiction when you get out there. So get a change of venue, Lisa? No, I don't know. Maybe. I highly doubt it. But maybe. I think it's interesting because this is where the act took place. And I believe it's also where the defendant's from. So we've got kind of like 2 out of 3 when it comes to jurisdiction issues. So, question I have, has Taco found headquarters? No. Well, maybe. Oh my gosh, it's hard when you're looking for make-believe places. It makes things more difficult. So, with that, my friends, let me go ahead and get my sticky note out so I can label this. Now, this isn't a very long charge. And a charge here, it looks like we're doing charges as opposed to a full indictment, although this looks like an indictment. So let me check real quick. Anybody here work in Utah? No. All right. Well, let me just look this up real quick. We all use different names. What's the Utah indictment called? Yeah, it's a trial information. Okay. So this is not a trial information. I really want to be clear about that. This is kind of, I think when you've got really high profile cases, we like to do multiple steps here to make sure we're following everything. So this is not set out as a full trial information. And this information that I got here was just set up online. I can't even remember the source now. It was, I think, a Utah website perhaps that had set this up. And it was kind of a weird situation. It wasn't a PDF or anything like that. So I had to kind of figure that out. But this is what we've got for tonight. So let me label this before I dive in. I'm so excited. I mean, this is an awful situation, but I'm very excited to see what's been charged and to follow this case, because it's pretty major homicide case here, like major. All right, here we go. So state of Utah here, and versus Tyler James Robinson. I've not heard anything from him, which, you know, is not unusual at all, and actually is the wisest way to go. But I've not heard anything from him or his attorney or his family at this point myself, but I've also not been looking very closely. So at this point, you really, you know, the best thing to do is to stay low and stay off the radar. Ooh, I may have been tricked. I may have been tricked here. Hold on a second, everybody. I've got to double check. Okay, here we go. And then image here. Let's see. Hold on here. Okay, you can feel free to come into all right. That's not exactly it. Okay, hold on here a second, everybody. I'm looking for an example right now. Let me just tell you what I'm doing. I mean, it's no big secret. Right now, I have Googled to see what a Utah trial information looks like. All right, I'm trying to get some Utah, let's try criminal trial information, because this may actually be the trial information. Okay, here we go. Let's try one more time. Yeah, staying mum. Yeah, that's the smart thing to do. Truly it is. All right, hold on here, everybody. I'm just not seeing what I need here. Okay. I'm not sure, and here's the reason why. I'm not sure, everyone. And this will have to be like a, find it, see yourself. UtahCourts.gov. Do we have an actual picture of a trial information there, John? Let me head over there right now. Utah Courts. .k. And the reason I'm asking is because, let me hop back over. I can't see my, okay. Yeah, let me just check here. Oh, all right. I don't think they're going to have a copy of that. You have to be careful of, okay, so just one second here. I'm going to get it. Or am I not? Or maybe I won't get it. We will see here. I'm looking at all of the filings. I'm not seeing it. Or nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it either. All right. Well, we'll just have to let's see here. And okay, one more swing around the trailer park. Is that how it goes? Around the outside. Is that right? Does that make me super, super old now? That's fine. I don't mind. All right. Well, yes. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to look for that, the Beauty and the Beast one. All right, so here's the deal. Here's the deal, everybody. No, I just came in and I said, well, this isn't a trial information. We don't have full, we're not going forward because a trial information does the equivalent of an indictment by a grand jury, right? So this would be interchangeable. And then, so I'm like, this must be how they're doing their charges over there because Utah's, every state's different. But if we look here, right, which I just noticed right now, so that's why I was running around. It says information. So it's possible in Utah that they just don't put trial information, that they just call it an information. I think that's weird, but alas, every state is different. So the bottom line is that either way, if these are just charges that have not been fully through the system, or if it's a trial information, either way, they are claiming they've got enough probable cause to believe this defendant committed this offense. All right, so that's really what we're looking at here. I would have thought they would have pulled a grand jury, and that's why I keep thinking this is a charge and not a trial information, because this would be crazy to do a trial information on. You would want to do a grand jury just to make sure it firmed it up. Right. So you gotta figure that out. But we'll go forward saying either the charges or the information. You guys will know what I'm talking about. Guys and gals and pals, does it list the defendant's attorney? Well, excuse me, no. It doesn't. It just has the Utah County Attorney. So that's the other piece of it too. This particular copy doesn't show it, but it must have been served properly. So I'm not sure about that. That's a good question. Anyway, we'll keep going forward here because it's very interesting. So here we go. I've got my sticky note up here, everyone. So has everyone been paying attention? Hello, Lisa, to what's been going on. Hi, VC. Yeah, my legs are better. Thanks. Oh my goodness gracious, everybody. I thought, well, I was in Target. I was like, oh, maybe I should just get a little bit of this to for people that don't fall down. So they'd have some idea of what it looks like. But then when I, posted, I was like, I hope this isn't too negative, people. Oh my gosh. All right. So, yes, is on the overload. I think a lot of us have that going on. All right, everybody, let's dive in. So again, these are the charges brought against Tyler James Robinson. Now here's his date of birth here, 2003. And again, all they need in order to do a charge, an indictment, is probable cause. So we're beyond reasonable suspicion. Let's just make sure we understand that. Reasonable suspicion's off the table. This is the one where SCOTUS came out and said, yeah, it's fine to profile, which they were doing anyway. All right. So, oh, I know, me too. I'm glad I made it to my car. I was like, hello, too much today. So we're not talking about reasonable suspicion. We're talking about probable cause here. All right, so let's jump in. I've not even annotated this. All right, the state of Utah by and through the Utah County Attorney's Office. And, one reason why this is on here, why I'm questioning if this is information or not, is because this is here. Because if you're getting a trial information, it's going to be coming out of the county attorney's office. So charges the defendant with the commission of the following offenses. Count 1. Let's highlight our counts here. What information you mean conflicting story? Well, right, exactly, Navy Vet. You got it. Has everybody heard all the craziness about what's going on? Ooh, aggravated murder. All right, here we go. Sorry, everybody. I'm not excited about this, but I am excited about criminal law and hanging out with my friends on a Friday. All right, everyone. So I'm being respectful. So count number 1 over here, aggravated murder. Now, again, every state's going to have a different name for their top murder positions. So here in Utah, it's apparently aggravated. Capital felony. Capital, of course, means capital punishment is on the table. Felony in violation of the Utah Code annotated 76-5-202. In that, on September 10th of 2025 in Utah County, all right, Utah County, the defendant, Tyler James Robinson, intentionally or knowingly caused the death of Charlie Kirk under the following circumstances. So as we go through this, I'm just going to kind of shout out things that are important to note. And one of the important things is to know the intent, all right? So, and I've explained this before, but, it's always good to do a refresher. So in order to have any kind of a crime, we need an act, and then we need an intent, all right? So act plus intent, or actus reus plus mens rea, that equals the crime, all right? And corpus delicti means the body of the crime. So you're going through and explaining. So the act itself is somehow illegal. We've made it illegal, or it could be an inchoate offense, or it could be a vice crime. So the act will be set out in black letter law. So you don't have to worry when it comes to the acts themselves that okay, what did the Supreme Court say about this act? No, you don't have to worry about that because it's set by the legislatures, as well as the intent level. All right, and the intent levels, the names for intent will change a lot. Premeditation, knowingly, maliciously, all of those are terms that come under the intent umbrella. So the act plus the intent, and then we've got the crime. So when we're looking through this language right here, we have our first element set out, and they're saying for this level of charge, we have intentionally or knowingly caused the death, and then this is the act, all right, here. So we've got our act and our intent set up right out the door here. Yeah, no code words, no code words here, not in this show. So when we're talking about this particular situation, we've got the intent and we've got the act. And then there's the causal piece, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So Charlie Kirk, under the following circumstances. Now, the reason that this is included under the following circumstances, because we haven't had a trial yet, this is where they're showing we have probable cause, right? Now, you can't go forward on charges unless you have probable cause. So that's why this information's in here, all right? And they're using sub 3. The defendant knowingly created a great risk of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk and the defendant. So another person was involved, another risk of death here, other than Charlie Kirk. Now, see, again, I had no idea. I didn't realize that there were 2 people. Do we know there were 2 people here? That's not one that I knew of here. So we've got Charlie Kirk, and then we have unknown person number 1. And that's probably what has escalated, or I'm sorry, escalated. Sorry, that's what has elevated the charge, right? So yeah, let's take a look at it here. Let's make sure we've got everything right here. Capital felony in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-5-202. In that, on September 10th in Utah County, defendant Tyler James Robinson intentionally or knowingly caused the death of one person, Charlie Kirk, under the following circumstances. So the defendant knowingly created a great risk of death. So not a second death, but We would probably put something in my state. We would call this attempted homicide, attempted murder of death to another individual other than Charlie Kirk. So we've got two victims here, one that died and one that was in the way. And I'm assuming it's probably somebody that was sitting next to him. Right, right. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Well, and that's just not hitting the media, though, is it? I mean, there were several people that were in his vicinity, but I'm assuming based off of the information, we'll get more as we continue to go through it. We'll see how close this victim here was, because they're going to have to be pretty close for it to have been a great risk of death. So, you know, they couldn't be across the stage from each other. It would be something. Oh, flower. Oh, that's so sweet. I appreciate that. Right, right. He was in, yeah, open in an open area. All right, so that's number one. Conviction of this offense may carry the death penalty. So this must be their, well, we already know it's a capital felony, but the death penalty or pursuant to Utah Code 76 3-207.7, a mandatory term of imprisonment. 1, for life without parole, or 2, an indeterminate term not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. So it looks like you've got two roads you can go down. Life without parole, so we all know what that is, or, and we have to make sure that we're catching our ors and our ands. That's very important when we're going through charges like this. Number 2, an indeterminate term of not less than 25 years, and that may be for life. So that's our other option. Both of these or death. So we've got three choices, either death or without parole or indeterminate term. So I'm going to pull up the code section real quick for Utah because I want to compare it to my own state's code so I can give you some examples here. So, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. Checking. Right. Okay, so it is possible. Okay, so all this means then for indeterminate means simply that parole is on the table for this. Oh, thanks, Coco Latte. Welcome. Hello, James. If I didn't say hello, welcome. Right. So we can either have without parole or we can have it with parole is what we would call it. Yeah, he's in some trouble, everybody. Yikes. Pretty young, but you know. All right, now we'll look here, and I want to make sure before we go too much further, because we have enhancements on these counts, I want to make sure we separate out what enhancements are from the actual charges themselves, all right? Looks like we have a violent offense here. We have another victim enhancement, another violent offense here. Okay, so again, this is one of the things I was talking about with the hate crime earlier, everyone, that if you're charged with some kind of crime and there's a hate crime or hate speech involved, that would be here. That would be an enhancement that we would add on to the charge itself, just to give you some idea. But we're not dealing with a hate crime here. We're dealing with a homicide. So we have, again, count 1. So we've got aggravated murder. And here's the victim targeting in violation of Utah Code Annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Here, Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because Robinson's belief or perception regarding Kirk's political expression. So this is what they're saying. They're saying it's because of his political expression. That's literally what the charge is, and that is literally what they're saying the motive is. So the motive is political expression here. Notice, if the trier of fact finds beyond a reasonable doubt the victim targeting enhancement applies, the sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider the defendant's selection of the victim as an aggravating factor. So if this is added to it, the enhancement isn't extra time or further fines. What it is an enhancement on this sentencing, or it could have parole implications. All right. If they find that. So this is something our jury would have to find, but you've got to charge anything you want that jury to see, you've got to charge it in the indictment. That's why we've had superseding indictments, because extra charges can come in later. All right, so here's the notice. This is just explaining what the enhancement is. Next, again, a violent offense committed in the presence of a child. This is an aggravating factor. Again, making note that this is going to add, it's like you're stacking a cake together, right? The crime itself is the base, and then each enhancement makes it bigger and bigger and bigger. So we've already got a victim targeting enhancement, we've got a violent offense involved, and both of these together are gonna just make his sentence like enormous. So all of these factors stack on each other. So much was hate speech, not politics. Right, and that's really interesting though, how you label it, right? And as a side note, real quick, let's talk about that. I have prosecuted hate speech crime before. Not a lot. I've been myself the prosecutor on one case, and then I've assisted in, I think there were 2 other cases. And again, the speech itself isn't what's going to get you. So if you were to go up to Charlie Kirk or anyone at some kind of rally or something and be like, that's hate speech, that's not what's going to get them. What's going to get them could be trespassing, could be they didn't get a permit, could be assaults, batteries, any of those kinds of things. You need a criminal offense to lay the foundation, and that's what you hook the hate speech onto. So the case that I worked myself that was involved had to do with we had a C felony level assault on another person. And we added that hate speech element because of what the defendant was saying while she was committing the offense. So all of those then would come in on her record. But if he's just talking, that's different. So the speech alone is not going to be enough to get you on hate speech. You got to have something else to hook it with. All right, here we go. Aggravating factor. The sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. And I think some people were saying it was even his child was there. Is that right? That's pretty heartbreaking. All right, next we've got count 2 coming up. Okay, thanks, Kaya. So we're already looking at death or 25 no parole, or 25-ish with parole. His wife and his kids were not there. Okay, but there were children in the crowd, is what I'm thinking. But man, if it had been his own kids, goodness gracious, that would have been, yikes, next level. All right, here we go, count 2. So this is a felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury. So again, we're in the realm of a first-degree felony here in Utah. So look here, and we've got the violation of the code section. So first degree, which of course, as we all know, is the highest degree of felony. Here, in that on September 10th, the defendant, Robinson, discharged a firearm in the direction of Charlie Kirk, knowing or having reason to believe that Charlie Kirk may be endangered by the discharge of the firearm, and the act caused serious bodily injury to Charlie Kirk. So there's three pieces here that we're looking at to make sure that the charge is done properly. And this is pretty much going to be the exact same language that the juries will have in the jury instructions. At the very end of all of this, it starts with this language and it ends with this language as well. So we've got the act here, which is discharging a firearm. We have the intent, so knowingly or having reason to believe here may be endangered. So they knew if they fired that he would be in danger because of that discharge. So this goes to an endangerment, honestly, is like a part B to intent with that. And then the discharge again, this could be like a part B to the act. All right, so this is kind of a bit more complicated language. It was initially said that they were there, but later they weren't. Oh, okay. Oh, they were, okay. Well, yeah, it's hard to know with the information coming out. It's really hard to know what they just going on here. So, all right, so we've got count 2 here, which is, again, discharge of a weapon, of a firearm specifically. All right, so first charge, count number 1, aggravated murder. And we have enhancement for victim targeting and a violent offense in the presence of a child. So 2 enhancements. Next, we've got count 2, discharge of a firearm, also a first-degree felony. But you'll notice here too, this first-degree felony, just for a teaching moment, everybody, this first-degree felony is different than a capital felony, right? So if you're looking through a trial information or a charging document and you see capital, of course, that's going to be your, the death penalty versus first-degree felony here, right? So that's just to clarify where that language is coming from. All right, and so our next enhancement, again, victim targeting in violation of the code. Robinson intentionally selected Kirk because of Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. Again, here's the motive. Right here is the motive. Right? So that's already going to be their big piece. So this is then the enhancement like we have up here. So we can have sentencing enhancements, or we can also have pardons, paroles. We'll take this into consideration when trying to figure out what happens next. All right, that's count 2. Yikes, that's whew. All right, so again, we're committing in the presence of a child, which is an aggravating factor. So that's aggravating factor or enhancements. They're a little bit different, but they result in the same effect. So here's count number 3, obstruction of justice here. Ooh, let's see this one now. Obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony. All right, so we're out of the capital offenses. In violation of Utah Code, September 10th, in Utah County, the defendant, Robinson, with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation. So here's our intent level, or prevent the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person that constitutes a criminal offense. All right, and then we have subsection C, concealed or removed the firearm used to shoot Charlie Kirk, and the conduct that constitutes the offense would be a capital felony or first-degree felony. All right, so this one's a bit squirrely because it's kind of mixed up when it comes to our clear cut between an act and an intent. So Robinson with intent to hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation or apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding the conduct that constitutes a criminal offense. So we would say he did it on purpose. And what did he do? Here are the X, all right? So the intent level basically is just that he had some intent. This could be a general intent. Now, in criminal law, everyone, we have several different kinds of intent, but we have a general intent or a specific intent. Specific. General intent is something just like this. Well, you have the intent. You knew what was going to happen, and these are the acts here. Versus a specific, where they're saying knowingly, maliciously, intentionally, those kinds of things for that kind of intent, all right? Well, intentionally would be general, I suppose. So here, what they're saying, he knew what he was doing. What was he doing? He was hindering, delaying, preventing the investigation, apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of any person regarding conduct that constitutes a criminal offense. What was he doing exactly? He concealed the firearm that he used to harm him. And the kind of harm was a first degree or a capital felony. All right, so these are our qualifiers. So if he had used a firearm, well, let's get it out of the firearm world. Let's say, all right, let's say, hold on, let me see here. If, let's say there was a slingshot and aimed at ankles and you tripped and you fell, that's going to be a regular level assault, perhaps a serious assault, perhaps an aggravated assault, or low-level felony assault. But what the, oh my goodness, everybody, hold on here, I'm having some problems. What they're saying here, then, is that this enhancement for concealing is only going to come into play if it's a high-level felony offense. Is everybody following me down that road? Does that make sense to everybody here? I feel like I'm taking you on a journey into the weeds a little bit, but hopefully we're getting it. Yes? Right? Okay. Okay, good. All right. So again, we're enhanced because the crime itself is a capital felony. All right, that's count 3. So we've got obstruction of justice here, and just so we don't forget, this is a second degree felony. Oh, conviction. Right, exactly, VC. Yeah, you got it. All right, count 4, obstruction of justice again. So you must have done something else. So this is for hiding the weapon. All right, so we hid the weapon here. And then we've got count 4, obstruction of justice, second degree felony, violation of Utah code on or about September 11th in Utah County. Defendant Robinson with intent to hinder, right? So we've got, again, that intent. Hinder, delay, or prevent the investigation, apprehension. Hold on here. Oh my gosh, where's page 3? Oh, sorry, everybody. It was like, did my cat take page 3? That's unacceptable. Oh my gosh, I was about ready to get upset, but all right. Apprehension, prosecution, conviction, or punishment of another person regarding conduct constituting a criminal offense. So next, what was it that he did? Here's another act. He destroyed, concealed, or removed the clothing he wore during the shooting. And the conduct that constitutes an offense was a capital felony or first degree felony. So are we kind of catching on here a little bit about how the criminal system works? So of course, if you're going to go out and assassinate someone, you're going to dump your gun. You're going to go and change your clothes. And that means you can get charged with obstruction of justice on top of a felony murder. See how that works? All right, so he got rid of the clothes, so he's getting charged with that. So he destroyed or got rid of that. So now we've got count 4, obstruction of justice here. Justice. Right, but you don't have you can't incriminate yourself. Exactly right. Like, I'm not going to say what I did. Well, look at the other charges. Like, jury disregard the other charges. That's pretty bad. I'm not sure how they would put that in their jury instructions so that it doesn't, like, push the jury to be like, oh, really? I'm not sure how that would work. All right. Count 5, everyone. Tampering with a witness, third degree felony. So let's just make sure we know it's third degree. Here on September 10th, the defendant, A1, believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, or 2, intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation, and B, attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to 2, withhold testimony information, a document, or an item, to wit, directing his roommate to delete incriminating text messages. All right, now this is where things start getting a little different here. Like we don't need a whole bunch of, oh, hello, Jennifer. Yes, here we are. We don't need a whole bunch of information in order to meet this probable cause level, right? So here what they're saying is the tampering with a witness, third degree felony, was because he asked the witness to destroy stuff. To destroy texts. All right, we got to be very specific about what it is here. Hard time getting a fair shake in Utah, as someone living. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is that the objective, and we kind of went through this in the Trump trials a little bit, and to some degree, well, yeah, with the Trump trials, really, is that you can't expect that no one in the venerate understands or has not heard of the case. What you want to ask is, if you've heard the case, would that have any effect on your ability to be fair and impartial? That's going to be the key language to use in order to get forward on that. All right, here we go. Count 6. Here we are. Tampering with a witness, third degree again, in violation of the code. Let me make sure I've got third degree on here. Utah County, right. A1 believed that an official proceeding or investigation was pending or about to be instituted, or 2, intended to prevent an official proceeding or investigation like above, attempted to induce or otherwise cause his roommate to withhold testimony or information, to wit, what did he do? Telling his roommate to stay silent if police question the roommate. All right, so he asked the roommate to stay silent. Don't tell the coppers. You can get charged for that. That's a third degree felony in Utah. Stay silent. I mean, you can really, this really gets out of hand here. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, 5 and 6, tampering. Count 7, violent offense committed in the presence of a child. All right, so this is separate than the enhancement that we had in the earlier counts of 1 and 2. Here we've got a Class A misdemeanor here, and it's saying Robinson committed criminal homicide in the physical presence of a child younger than 14 years old, with knowledge that a child was present and may have seen or heard the commission of the criminal homicide. So this is its own charge. So we've got enhancements on the murder itself and the attempted murder, right? So we've got those 2 homicide charges. So we've got enhancements, but then having kids present is its own separate charge. So that's, there we go. That's another one that we kind of put in the row here. Oh yeah, Kaya. And I don't even, see, I find it very difficult to have an accurate description of what's going on with a roommate until, I've seen some authenticated evidence. So I'm just like, I'm not sure about that. All right, we do have a victim targeting enhancement, really, for the child. Let's see what that is. Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Robinson's belief or perception regarding Kirk's political expression. All right, so that's just for the person he homicided. It wasn't that he had some, intent regarding the child. So, there's that, I guess. Victim. All right, and then probable cause statement is up next. We've not heard of either of their really isn't anything right. Can understand based on that. Well, I mean, and there's so much going. I mean, Utah, right? Because they are trying to make every link. Right, right, right. Exactly, exactly. Oh man, my goodness. Oh my goodness. I. It's so frustrating because I know everyone's like, who can we blame? Who can we blame? And for me, I'm like, well, there's a dude right here. This is who you're blaming, right? That's who you're blaming. So, if you want to blame an entire group of people, they didn't do it, right? I was just reading earlier today the lawsuit brought by the parents of a younger fella who killed himself because he'd had this kind of on again, off again relationship with ChatGPT. Is everyone familiar with that case? And so eventually he was talking to ChatGPT, and the answers that he was getting were basically like, yeah, go kill yourself. And so it's very disturbing here uh, to be in that kind of a situation. I mean, you can blame a great big group, but on the other hand, if you don't focus on the criminal himself, you're gonna, have some troubles. Uh, right, right. Oh, and there's, oh my goodness, VC. Yikes. Right, right. Credible even after, we don't know. I mean, there's at this point, because it's so early, everybody, it's way too early to know whether or not anybody here is credible. We just don't have enough information. Credibility has to be absolutely assessed, but I mean, it's too soon. We just don't have enough information. Whole population of people, yes. Oh my goodness. Stand this whole political. Oh, I know. Oh my gosh. Well, political belief, but they left the door pretty wide open with that. So, like they could have said political beliefs that were drastically different than his own or something like that. But they left the door open there. Tax policy and they do the same thing with immigrants. Oh, absolutely. Rather than just saying a person committed the crime, they focus on the um, objective that feeds the base the best. Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Exactly. Just putting that fuel on the fire, right? All right, here's our probable cause. Brian Davis of the Utah Bureau of Investigation, having probable cause to believe the defendant committed the above listed offense, submitted the following evidence in support of the filing of this information. All right, we've been through the charges, so now it's time for the narration from the investigators. Let's see what they've got to say. Whew. On September 10th, at approximately, I've got a little, somebody opened the front door and then closed it again. All right, no worries, there we go. On September 10th, at approximately 12:23 p.m., Charlie Kirk was shot and killed while speaking to a large crowd on the campus of Utah Valley University, UVU, in Orem, Utah, counts 1 and 2, which we already went through, right? Police found the suspected murder weapon, a bolt-action .3006 rifle, nearby. Over the next approximately 33 hours, police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, when Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. Seriously? Where are my cats? They're supposed to be taking care of the bugs. Come on, get up. Oh, they're sleeping. Oh, sorry. All right. DNA consistent with Robinson was found on the rifle's trigger. After shooting Mr. Kirk, Robinson hid the gun, which is count 3, discarded the clothing he wore when he fired the rifle, count 4, and told his lover/roommate to delete incriminating text messages. Count 5, and to not talk to police, count 6, and children were present at the time of the shooting, count 7. All right, well, I mean, it's according to the investigators, the roommate was a /lover. So for me, that increases that credibility that they weren't just, roommates. So there's that, but still, that's not much. The shooting. Turning Point USA, a nonprofit organization founded in 2012 by Charlie Kirk, organized a public outdoor event to be held at noon on September 10th at the UVU. The event was the first in a series of similar events to be held at college campuses nationwide. Mr. Kirk is a well-known conservative activist, famous for these types of events where he discusses various political issues and debates with audience members. His events and comments have garnered a significant number of supporters and drawn the ire of many who disagree with his political views. Right. Oh, sorry, everybody. One moment. Yeah, it's a tough question. Again, our evidence needs to be authenticated. All right, so political views here. All right, here we go. Now, as a quick side note, everybody, we've got a lot of stuff going on here with his political. I have no idea who this fella is. In all honesty, I really do not. I could not pick him out of a lineup. I really have no clue who he is because I just don't travel in those circles. But a couple of things to remember. Some people are like, oh, the flags are at half-mast. And it's like, that's a good point. I mean, that's a good point. I have a lot to say about that. But I can see why people would be frustrated with that. The other is that, he's kind of a... What am I trying to say? Schmatzy? Am I trying to say he's like a YT? I even have a hard time saying it. He seems like he could be a Klan member. How about we put it that way? And when you think of a Klan member, you don't want to be like, oh, well, this is so awful, poor guy. But I would remind everybody that the Brandenburg test, right? We have that we've talked about so much when it comes to freedom of speech, right? Brandenburg here. So very important case. We've talked about it many times. The Brandenburg case was brought by the ACLU who were representing the Klan. And they were saying, we hate these guys. These guys are crap, but we are here for the freedom of speech element. And so they really needed that incitement. Oops, that's a C there. Incite, in order for that case to go forward. So in this kind of a situation where we've got this potential alleged Klan member, like, no, I don't want to glamorize him or be like, oh, poor fella. No, but I will recognize the constitutional moment that we're having here where political speech is being attacked. So that's the extent of my empathy here. Right? So we mustn't forget. Again, to just be, sometimes the biggest steps forward come from awful people, I guess is what I would put in here. All right, putting the soapbox away, back into it. Here we go. The event at the UVU was announced far in advance and garnered significant publicity and interest. Consequently, several hundred people attended. Mr. Kirk was interacting with the crowd before the event officially got underway. Then approximately at noon, Mr. Kirk seated himself under a portable canopy behind a table and microphone. He began speaking to the crowd and fielding questions from attendees, a format Mr. Kirk commonly used at his events. Mr. Kirk allowed his questioners to approach a microphone positioned directly in front of him. So same protocol as all of the town hall. Yeah, that's right. The town hall meetings, right? Right. Everyone has First Amendment right when you try to take it from one organization's chilling effect. Exactly right. That's exactly right, Eleanor. That's exactly right. And that is the crux of the First Amendment, according to the original drafters, according to Madison and Hamilton and all of them people. So, very important. Jimmy Kimmel, that's all I'm going to say. All right, here we go. Mr. Kirk's team members were very close to him on his right and left, as well as some behind his canopy, and others at various close locations near him. The large crowd surrounded Mr. Kirk on three sides. Temporary metal fencing separated attendees from Mr. Kirk by only a matter of feet. Directly above and behind Mr. Kirk was the UVU Hall of Flags, an indoor walkway spanning several hundred feet with floor-to-ceiling glass windows which overlook the plaza where Mr. Kirk was seated. People were in the walkway at the time of the shooting. Ooh, that's not good either. Public walkway. Public walkway is no good. Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, Kea, wow. I mean, yeah, exactly. I think that's an excellent idea, to go and look and see, like find the receipts, for that acknowledgement of the kind of person he was. Approximately 15 minutes into the event, Mr. Kirk was answering a question about mass shootings by transgender individuals when a gunshot rang out. The bullet struck Mr. Kirk in the neck. He slumped to the ground almost immediately. The bullet's trajectory passed closely to several other individuals beside Mr. Kirk, including the questioner who was standing directly in front of Mr. Kirk. Yikes! Children were visible near Mr. Kirk's stage when he was shot. Mr. Kirk was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was declared deceased. The medical examiner's report is pending here. Oh my goodness gracious. And money for the things he said and he believed. Well, exactly, right? Exactly. You got to collect all of the receipts in order to figure out which way you want to go on it. All right, so that's the shooting. That's awful. I've been watching a lot of documentaries recently on assassinations, just, to brush up on assassination law. Oh my goodness. And I came across the transcript of an interview of Jackie Kennedy. And it was her first interview that she did after things had chilled out. I think she got married. So I think this was later on down the road, a couple of years. And so the person that she was talking to was like, so, what was going on here? And they were actually seeing the video. And there's a part where she goes into the back past Kennedy, past the president, and goes on to kind of the trunk area. And some people were saying like, oh, she was trying to get out of the car, or she's trying to duck. And in her own words, she said, oh my gosh, everybody. All right. So viewer discretion, earmuffs if you're squeamish. She said she was trying to pick up pieces of his skull to take to the hospital. So in that moment, I think, the whole country's like, holy crap, what did this woman have to go through? I mean, it's just absolutely atrocious to this kind of violence. This kind of violence at any level is just absolutely. Oh, exactly, Willie B. Exactly. Anybody involved in this. I mean, and Lee Harvey Oswald, everyone's like, he's a baddie. But, Ruby didn't need to do that. So there's a lot going on here. Anytime we have that level of political violence. So again, just as a little information for other people, bless him and her. The UVU surveillance investigation. So at the moment of the shot, the UVU police officer, the UVU officer, was watching the crowd from an elevated vantage point. As soon as he heard the shot, he began to scan the area for threats, believing the shot came from a rifle because of its sound. He looked for potential sniper positions. He noted a roof area approximately 160 yards away from Mr. Kirk as a potential shooting position and rushed there to look for evidence. The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the suspected location, a person must climb over a railing and then drop to the roof, only slightly below. The UVU officer climbed over the railing and down onto the roof. He then walked to the suspected shooting position and confirmed a clear shooting corridor between the position and Mr. Kirk's seat. He also noticed markings in the gravel rooftop, consistent with a sniper having lain on the roof, impressions in the gravel potentially left by elbows, knees, and feet of the person in a prone shooting position. So all of the this is all circumstantial evidence, right? Right? Because this is all like they're taking photographs of this, they're probably making molds of it, they're probably recreating it through computer software. That's all literally circumstantial evidence, and our juries love it. The more circumstantial evidence, the better. And people don't necessarily realize that when the difference came in. Oh my gosh, Epstein, yes. Oh my goodness gracious. Yeah. It limited his time. That's a good point, isn't it? Didn't have to, well, right. Yeah, this could have been, there are a lot of mistakes here that were made. A lot. Hello, Estelle. Oh, I'm so glad you're here. Don't feel pressured to stay if you're not feeling the best, but I'm just really glad to see you. Who just brought, nobody. All right, here we go. Next up, police reviewed surveillance from the camera covering the roof and discovered that it recorded an individual dressed in dark clothing cross the railing from the public walkway and drop onto the roof at approximately 12:15 p.m. All right, so we have a camera. Woo, that's good. Although the individual moved out of the camera's view for a short time, the camera again captured the individual running across the roof and then low crawling to the area of the UVU officer. The UVU officer recognized as where the suspect sniper had dropped into the prone shooting position. After a short time, which matches the known time of the shot, the individual arose and ran across the roof to the northeast. So why didn't anybody go over there? Can I ask that question? Because I feel like if you're ICE and you see someone, you're just like, boom, take them down. No questions, who cares? But meanwhile, there's this person running around here very suspiciously. And what? The popo's like, man, well, we'll ask them later. Like, what happened? What happened here? I'm curious. I'm wondering. Hello, Brian. Hello. I asked the same thing, right? You're staying? Okay. Videoed, but didn't think anything of it. Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose that's a good question, too, though, for our police when doing trainings, right? At what point do you go in with that reasonable suspicion and look and see if criminal activity is afoot? I mean, that is what reasonable suspicion is for. So, it's a really difficult way to, that's true, they're not professional. That's true. Just a TV crew. Okay, John, well, that's starting to make a little bit more sense then. Seems to be an issue with his Secret Service. Really? Second roof? Ooh, okay. Would have thought it was a legit police sniper. Oh, that's a good point too, Chris. There's just, I think overall there's just too many moving parts. There's too many variables here. And maybe that means the event was too big. That's one thing I would say. An event's so big that you're not able to kind of track all of the moving parts, then you need to make it smaller, perhaps. That would be my suggestion. Yeah, he had his own security detail as well. This discovery led to an intense review of the UVU surveillance recordings to attempt to track and identify the suspect. Surveillance revealed the following. At approximately 11:51 a.m., the suspect entered campus from the north. He's seen wearing a black shirt with American flag in its center, dark baseball cap, and large sunglasses. Now, this part makes sense because they're tracking it backwards, right? They're going backwards in time to see where he came in. Throughout the surveillance, the suspect keeps his head down and rarely raises his head enough to get a clear image of his face. As he proceeds across the campus, he's seen walking with an unusual gait. The suspect walks with a very little bending of his right leg, consistent with a rifle being hidden in his pants. The unusual gait continues until the suspect is seen crossing the railing off the open walkway and onto the roof, where he leaves the camera's view. Oh my goodness gracious. Ah. Yeah, that's all that was found afterwards. Exactly. Yep. Okay. Camera later captures the suspect as he runs across the roof to the suspected shooting position. Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof, carrying an item whose shape is consistent with the rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. For goodness sake, are we in a movie? I mean, what? He then picks up the item and runs towards the northeast end of campus. Like, come on. My goodness gracious here. Hello, Suzanne. Hello. Hi, Mary. All right, so we've got that. Oh, goodness gracious. All right. Expanded crime scene investigation. Law enforcement officers followed the suspect's escape path to the northeast end of campus, where they believe the suspect left campus and entered a wooded area. In that wooded area, investigators found a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a towel. The rifle contained 1 spent round and 3 unspent rounds. This is consistent with the facts officers observed at the time of and in the immediately after the shooting. No shell casings were found on the roof, suggesting a bolt action rather than an auto-loading weapon, and only a single round was fired. So this is where you got to figure out like what's more important, right? Hiding your evidence or getting away would be my question here. Yeah, I think the Secret Service are in a weird spot right now. I think, quite frankly, my belief, this is my opinion, everyone, I would say that because of what's happened with Trump over all of the years, I think that the Secret Service could use an overhaul. Meaning, like, what do you do when, your person that you're supposed to be protecting gets charged with a felony, I feel like the whole thing needs to kind of be reworked from the point of view that the person you're protecting is, like, not great. That's my opinion. My opinion. Here we go. Each round in the rifle contained an etched inscription as follows. A fired cartridge. I'm not going to read that out loud. Oh, goodness gracious. A second cartridge. Hey, fascist. Catch. Arrow symbols. What? Bella Chow. All right. If you read this, you are gay. Well, wouldn't that be nice? That's that. So that's how that was there. The rifle ammunition rounds and towels were sent for forensic processing. DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel. Private. Yeah. Why would Secret Service be protecting private citizens? Well, right. And, you never know exactly how things are going to shake down with that. I think it was actually Obama that expanded the Secret Service protections for presidents or for people who were entitled to Secret Service protection before. I think right before he left office, he increased it. All right, law enforcement was unable to immediately locate the shooter, so they published photos of the shooter from the UVU surveillance cameras and asked for the public's help to identify him. Meanwhile, law enforcement continued to try to identify the shooter through other means. Next, the Washington County investigation. On the evening of September 11th, as law enforcement continued their investigation, Robinson went to the Washington County Sheriff's Office with his parents and a family friend to turn himself in. That's what's so unique about this particular case. If you go through, we've had multiple presidents, we've had judges, we've had various people who have been assassinated over time. Does a lot of people, but oh my gosh. Usually the bad guy doesn't make it out. And so here we actually have the bad guy. And that is going to be like a wealth of information as time goes on. Right. So we'll have to see. Robinson's mother stated the following to the police on September 11th, the day after the shooting. You know who's not present though? Let me just put this out there, okay, everybody? Parents and a family friend. Where's the lawyer? Where's his lawyer? Can I just ask that? Be like, okay, mom and dad and friend are taking me in. You gotta, go in. But where's the lawyer? Yeah, there's a lot of things happening for sure. Robinson's mother stated the following. On September 11th, the day after the shooting, Robinson's mother saw the photo of the shooter in the news and thought the shooter looked like her son. Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick and that he had also been at home sick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspected shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed. Oh, I can't even imagine. Can you? I can't even imagine as a parent having a picture of your kid like suspected of something like this, or another kind of a shooting event, a school shooting event, whatever. I can't even imagine how much that would break your heart. Absolutely. Right. Okay. Yeah, yikes. Let's take a look at this. Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. This resulted in several discussions with family members, but especially between Robinson and his father, who have very different political views. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate. Robinson's father reported that when his wife showed him the surveillance image of the suspected shooter in the news, he agreed that it looked like their son. He also believed that the rifle the police suspected the shooter used matched a rifle that was given to his son as a gift. As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life. Robinson's parents were able to convince him to meet at their home. As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there's too much evil and the guy, Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate. They talked about Robinson turning himself in and convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who's a retired deputy sheriff. All right, that makes some sense now. At Robinson's father's request, the family friend met with Robinson and his parents, convinced Robinson to turn himself in. The family friend spoke to police and reported telling Robinson that it would be best if he brought all the evidence with him to the sheriff's office to avoid police having to search his parents' home. Ooh, that was smart. He's like, if you don't want them to be messing around with your parents, then, bring in the incriminating evidence. The family friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas. Oh my goodness, everyone. This is a lot. All right, here we go. We're coming down to the end here. The roommate. Police interviewed Robinson's roommate, a biological male who was involved in a romantic relationship with Robinson. The roommate told police that the roommate received messages from Robinson about the shooting and provided those messages to police. On September 10th, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. Police found a photograph of this note. The following text exchange then took place. Again, all of this, as I'm reading through this, everybody, is the probable cause that they're using. Still no lawyer, that's right. This is a probable cause that they're using in order to charge what they've charged, all right? Only as probable cause here. We're not trying to win the case. We're not trying to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. We are only getting to the level of probable cause, all right? After reading the note, the roommate responded, what? Question, you're joking, right? Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Okay, Robinson, I'm still okay, my love, but I am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? I am. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? Yeah, I had enough of this hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. How long have you been planning this? A bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there's a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. So he's really focused on getting that rifle here. That's like his primary focus here. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't know if it has a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about Prince. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find Prince. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man? Again, in this situation, he's so obsessed with trying to hide pieces of it. It doesn't even sound like his mind has clicked into reality. It sounds like he's outside. Right, it sounds like he's kind of outside of reality right now. Complete sentences while texting. This is odd to me. I wasn't sure if I should say it or not, but this is definitely odd here. To even be having this conversation via texts, I think is unusual. And for him to, he's just waiting for the police to leave an area. So that's why he's texting back and forth. It does. Yeah, it's a bit odd. Who is incriminating themselves? That's a good question. Although, you never know. Some people are just like, yeah, I did it. Some people are like that, but this does feel odd. Just the cadence and the content. Only thing I left was a rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices blah blah on Fox News, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really fucking sucks. So again, no acknowledgement of the loss of life here. The only acknowledgement is finding the weapons here. Yeah, if he's dictating. I agree. There's something weird here. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I think that it was a 2K scope. And I thought this rifle his dad had said was a present to him. It wasn't the Grandpa's. Or maybe it wasn't new. Maybe it was Grandpa's gifted to him. Right? Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle and it's very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. That's weird. He had a lot of language that was involved in this and a lot of questions. And he was telling his parents he was going to kill himself. And then the next sentence, he's like, man, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. This is suspicious. Suspicious, everybody. All right. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. So again, he knew he needed to ask for a lawyer and he didn't. Yeah, clear history. Yeah. Talking to the mom happened in between. Yeah, there's some things that aren't matching up. But again, we're in crazy town. So, not everything is going to match up properly. For goodness sake. All right, here we go. Grand finale, the search of Robinson's residence. Police executed a search warrant on Robinson's residence. During the search, police discovered a shell casing with etchings, like the etchings found on shells in the rifle near the UVU. Police also found several targets with bullet holes in Robinson's home. All right, well, that is definitely incriminating. Count 1, aggravated murder, pertains to Robinson's shooting and killing of Charlie Kirk in a manner that exposed others, in addition to Mr. Kirk, to a great risk of death. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm, pertains to Robinson's shooting towards Mr. Kirk, knowing that doing so would endanger those in the bullet's path. The shot caused serious bodily injury to Mr. Kirk, ultimately resulting in his death. Count 3, obstructing justice, pertains to Robinson's removal and hiding of the rifle he used to shoot Mr. Kirk. Count 4, obstructing justice, pertains to Robinson's removal and hiding of the clothing he wore when he shot Mr. Kirk. Count 5, witness tampering, pertains to Robinson's statement to his roommate, telling his roommate to delete their text exchange that followed the shooting. Count 6, witness tampering, pertains to Robinson's statement to his roommate, telling the roommate, if any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer, stay silent. Utah's really weird. All right, count 7, violence offense committed in the presence of a child, pertains to Robinson's shooting of Mr. Kirk in the presence of children under the age of 14 who were visible at the event. Based upon evidence received from Brian Davis of the Utah State Bureau of Investigations, I have reason to believe the defendant committed the offenses as charged herein, authorized for presentment and filing on September 16th. And this is the Utah County Attorney's Office there for Utah County. All right, so I think they did. I think they, this is going to be their trial information here. Again, only probable causes needed, which is much less than beyond a reasonable doubt in a full criminal trial. Also, this is just from the investigator and county attorney's perspective. All right, this is just the information that they had. I want to make sure that I'm clear about that because as time goes on and as this case develops and more layers get added to it, I think it's really important to make sure we keep everything in its designated area here. Mrs. Peacock in the library with a candlestick. I knew it. I knew it. Oh my gosh. Yes. So, all right. What do we think here? First of all, I think the counts are appropriate. I don't do Utah law, but they seem to match properly. But then moving to the text messages, right? We've got that. That's a little weird. The camera video that they've got that they were able to trace backwards, that's, they weren't able to kind of pinpoint anything, but that's what kind of got his parents knowing. So let me ask you this, chat. Let's ask the chat. Chat, who do you think would be the top 3 based off of this? Who would you call as the top 3 witnesses? Like well, let's just start with 1. Who's the number 1 witness that you would want to call if you were prosecuting this case? Who would be the first person you'd put on the stand? Is it unusual? Not necessarily, Mary. We don't do it very often. You don't need to do it. You don't need that kind of specific evidence in order to get to probable cause. So that's a little suspect, isn't it? But he may have felt, or whomever, the county attorney probably felt he was a little thin on the information because he only had a sentence or two for it. The roommate. Right, the roommate. Okay. The roommate. The church bishop. No! All right, so I think that's fair. I think that's fair. But let me tell you who I would call first. First of all, if we're the prosecutor, we go first. So you have to prove your case beyond a reasonable doubt. The first thing I need to do is I need to make sure the jury understands the story. So for me, the first one I would call would be the investigator. All right, so I'm gonna call this FBI or UBI, the UBI investigator, and I'm gonna say, take me through this. What day were you on call? What did you do? What did you do next? What did you find? What did you go through and do? So I'm gonna have my investigator first to come up, all right? And then the next one, you've got to decide if you want to take this through a timeline format, or if you want to take it through the biggest pieces of evidence first. So the biggest parts first. So, you can jump around, but if you've got some really important evidence that the jury needs to see right away, that's what you're going to do. Yeah, thinking the mom. Well, right. The other thing, too, is that, without a doubt, his mom and dad are going to be testifying. Now, testifying for or against, that's debatable, but just testifying in general in their son's trial, right? The church is who's directing this investigation there. Okay. Okay. Well, okay. All right, so let me ask you this then. Fair enough with the bishop, everyone. Let me ask you this. Who is the defendant gonna call? So the state rests, they've called everything, they've put their witnesses on, they've given their exhibits. Now it's the defendant's turn. Who do you think, and it doesn't have to be somebody listed in here, who do you think would be the best witness or the best person for defense to call? Mm-hmm. VC's not wrong. Oh, right. Absolutely. Okay, the roommate. I want to call the bishop to call the church legal hotline. Oh, all right. Something missing with the family to turning himself in. I tell you, Navy vet, the feeling I got is that they don't like him. That's just my first impression. They don't like him. They don't like his beliefs. They don't like what he's doing. He and his father especially. They were okay, following whatever divinity they needed to, and said, well, this is in his best interest. He needs to go and have the sins taken care of. Again, my personal opinion. So I think at this point you've got to break down between parents and child and parents and religion. That's my thought. What is his defense? Good question. The grandmother's interesting. Okay. I might call the deputy. Okay. He is an embarrassment. Exactly, H. Titus. Exactly. And so those normal parental protections are not necessarily going to be in place again. Info on the grandmother. Yeah, we're missing a lot. And then calling a deputy, not a lawyer. Exactly, Navy. That's what I'm saying. It looks like they kind of were setting him up. Send us pictures of the rifle. That's evidence. And the deputy being like, well, take in all your evidence that you have, just to make sure. Dude, that's incriminating information. That's protected by the Fifth Amendment. I'm not pro-defendant here, but it seems like a setup to me. Had some stress with each other. The dad makes me. Yeah, I agree, Kristen. I absolutely agree. Truth, the family doesn't seem like they have a lot of love for the kid. I agree, Estelle. I agree. And the shot was too clean. That's something else I've been thinking about too, Kristen. We've got one bullet, one shot, And it was, I mean, that was it. Like, what's he do in his off time? You know, he's like, what? He's 20-year-old kid. Like, where's he training at? You know, jumping down military style and, you know, crawling up and blah, 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 blah. It sounds like he's got military training. Like, what? How'd that happen? That's what I'm saying. Oh, thank you so much. Cocoa Latte. Oh, that's so sweet. Wonderful account on here called Dr. G, who's a body language expert. Ooh, who analyzed the first appearance. Ooh, I love that. I love that. He hunts. Okay, you know, I forget. I forget about the hunting. Old rifle, too. Yeah, it was his grandpa's rifle, right? Well, right. Kristen, right. Lots of hunters in Utah. Well, and I've forgotten about that. So I think that's an excellent point. Here's what, okay. Yeah. All right. So if this was me and I was representing this dude, first of all, no, thank you. But next, I'd want a psych eval. Where's my psych eval at? First of all right, we gotta build this up. Does he have any health issues going on? All right, is he seeing any doctors? And probably highly unlikely at this point. But I'm gonna want to lay this down because, and let's just be clear, it is not a normal situation to go out and be like, this guy makes me mad and I'm going to, you know, kill him. That is, it seems like it's normal, but that's actually not. That kind of goes against most people's instincts, all right? But also there are people who are swayed into thinking I've got justification. As long as I've got justification, I can do whatever I want. And so then what you need to do is peel apart the justification for it. Like, oh, his hate just made me so crazy. I had temporary insanity. Like, well, I'm not sure that's going to work. But the hatred just, you know, ruined my life. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Like, I'm not so sure about that. Because what is it that escalates a regular run-of-the-mill person from being, you know, walking to work or whatever and turns them into a murderer, right? So those kinds of questions, I would want to kind of peel the onion here to see what happens. But of course, we do not have any information from the defendant himself, the roommate, from the other people. The information that we're getting is pretty, you know, dodgy. So we don't have enough to even start making some kind of a profile for this defendant at this point. On how emotionless, controlling he was in the first appearance. Yes, well, and that's the feeling I got too in his text messages, is that it's just so focused, targeted on one thing rather than, you know, if you, let's put it to you this way, all right? Let's picture this, everyone. You go to the grocery store, all right, and when you're leaving, the cart smashes into somebody's car and leaves a little bit of a mark on their bumper, right? And you're like, ooh, but you're having a bad day, you're having a rough day, you're like, God, I gotta get home right now. I just don't have time to deal with this. I can't leave a little whatevers. So, you know, I'm just gonna risk it. So you get in your car and you go home. What's the first thing that happens when you get in your car and you start driving home, right? There's two roads that people tend to go down that I've noticed, in my opinion. One road is, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just hit that car. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible about it. And then the other route is, were there cameras? Were there cameras? Did I make a big enough dent? Was anyone around me? Trying to play back the whole events in their mind to see if there's evidence against them. I'm not saying that either road is right or wrong, but typically those that are like, oh my gosh, what happened to the person? What happened to the car? Tend to have more of that piece of like, ooh, I wish I hadn't done that, right? So that's where I'm coming from. I'm like, he's not saying like, well, you know, I wish it hadn't come to this, or showing any kind of regret or whatever. He's not showing any of that. He's just like, where's my rifle? It's like self-protection mode. Very focused. Did his clothes have gun on them? Probably, and also though, they probably have residue from him crawling around on that roof and jumping down to the ground too. So, and we're not CSI like you see on TV, but sometimes what's TV? But still, if you have the clothing that he was wearing, which he didn't have because he, I guess, got rid of it in different places, you'd be able to show that to the jury. I mean, you hold up a sweatshirt, I'll tell you right now, you hold up a sweatshirt with a hole in it, and you have that sweatshirt displayed in a way where you can see the hole in it, that kind of impact on the jury is just priceless. When you can show that to a jury and you can show them the story, I mean, that really gives them food for thought to think about. Right, no attorney. Trace is trace, true, exactly. Where was the threat? So, do you mean like where was the threat to him that would justify him killing him? Is that what you mean by the threat? His family disowned him. That's what I'm wondering, Snake Nurse. That's what I'm wondering. And I think that's very likely. Yes, to him. So how is Charlie Kirk a threat to him? That's a really great question. That's a really great question. And that's also, what you're going to look at in your defense. Let's just take a minute and flesh that out. So he could say that he was afraid, right? He was afraid, or he was being harmed. There's some kind of harm, and that's what's going to allow for self-defense or something along those lines. But how was the defendant being hurt by Charlie Kirk? What was Kirk doing that was affecting the defendant at a level that could somehow allow for him to feel like he needed to go and shoot him? Oh, where was... Oh dear, Brian, you're gonna have to write it out a bit clear, dude. Harmed where? Where was the defendant harmed? I don't think he was harmed. Where he interviewed his game buddy is really important, and oh, interesting. Okay. Normally parents would get an attorney. True. Right. Counsel said he would be filing as an indigent. All right, that just shows again. I don't know the parents' financial status. Right. So I'm thinking in this situation, we're going to do a couple of things. I would say what we're going to see is what we call a Twinkie defense. It's probably going to be on there first. What happens if the defendant's attorneys download the roommate and defendant's phone and the text messages? I don't know at this point. I don't know. Now, text messages are, we got to remember that's hearsay. Now, it doesn't mean it can't come in, but it is hearsay at this point, which means unless it's going through the process that we have of authenticating evidence, you can't really take it even at the face value at this point. All right, so I'm going to do, what else am I going to think? So how has he hurt him? Probably some kind of post-traumatic stress, PTSD. I'm going to say, though, with his parents, all right? And there's some kind of trigger with his father. So I think that's important as well. So the Twinkie defense is basically like, well, this was available, and no matter what I did, I couldn't get away from it, and then it just made me, heat of passion, lose my mind in the moment. Oh my gosh, Lisa, that anyone in the jury would disagree. I realize the video of the shooting is incriminating. He admits it was him, but the pressure on the jury. Oh my gosh, Lisa, yes. Oh my goodness gracious, are you kidding me? Absolutely. I just posted over on TikTok the situation with Khalil, which is one of the First Amendment cases, right? So he was out and protesting the Middle East situation. And so, of course, immigration came in after Trump took over and yanked him off the street, right? So he was in detention, and then they're like, dude, let him out. Wife, kids. And now what's happening is he's going through the immigration process, and they're kicking him out. They're like, you messed up some information, and when you were doing all your stuff, and now you're going to be deported. You're going to be gone. His lawyer wrote a letter stating the President of the United States and the Secretary of State want my client out of the country. How are we supposed to fight against that? We're not going to win any appeals. We're not going to be able to fight the President of the United States of America. My client's going to get deported. And it's heartbreaking. It's absolutely heartbreaking. That's not how the system works. That's not how it's supposed to work. But again, we've got some weak links in the system, and we gotta patch them up. Now, it's awful. It's awful. But on the other flip side, everyone, don't feel completely dejected, because there's about, I think, 15 within the last 24 hours, 15 different groups, organizations, experts have filed amicus briefs, meaning they want to give information to the judge supporting him being in the country still, right? And even his own attorney was like, he had an order that said he couldn't be deported. And then the court was like, well, that order doesn't matter anymore. Right? I would be uncomfortable on that jury. Understandable. Oh, right. The text message is fake. True. Although, and that's a good question, Navy Vet, there have been times when the authenticity or credibility of some of our probable cause in the information is called into question. Now, one thing you can do about that is what we would call a pretrial filing, called we would file a motion for a bill of particulars, where we would want to see that evidence flushed out better to show that probable cause than what's in the indictment. Because in criminal court, they have access, the defendant's got access to everything. It doesn't matter what it is. The prosecutors need to give him everything. So a bill of particulars could work. Preliminary hearing could also work, where they're challenging probable cause. So it's possible for them to come in and say, these text messages are not authenticated. This is not what happened. It's absolutely positive. And then if that bumps that probable cause down, the case would be dismissed. It's absolutely possible. Will it happen? We don't know. Take this case. Well, true, Lisa, but it's early still. I think we've still got some firms that may come in. But honestly, I'm not sure it's going to, it's not going to be easy, right? It's not going to be easy. You don't have a constitutional question here. So kind of like your ACLU nonprofits are going to not be drawn into this situation. But then on the other hand, what you're going to find are public defenders, and that's probably what's going to happen here, is just a run-of-the-mill, plain vanilla public defender is going to come in and have to do the case, because they're in it for the love of the game, not the money, and they want to make sure that everything was done properly. That's how I think it's going to go down. The standard of probable cause is very, very low. True story, Snake Nurse, not as low as reasonable suspicion, but definitely. Do you have to have a constitution question in order for the ACLU to come and help? Yeah, pretty much, because that's kind of like that's their shtick, the American Civil Liberties Union. And the reason I also say that is because they have so many cases. They are stretched pretty thin. So the ACLU's like, we don't have the people power to pick up a case that doesn't have pivotal constitutional questions involved. There's just so much going on in the courts right now. With capital punishment experience. Now, usually the capital punishment in our states is a bifurcated situation. So it's very possible to have one trial with one attorney, and then have the sentencing portion where the death penalty is being assessed, and have a different attorney for that. It's not unusual at all for that to happen. Right, exactly. OJ vibes on this. He doesn't have OJ's team. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a mess. Would that be done in or before a grand jury? So, Coco Latte, I'm so glad you asked me that. Because this is, well, my assessment, and I could be wrong, I reserve the right to be wrong on everything, just tell me. But I believe this is their trial information. That means no grand jury is going to be called. With the county attorney putting these, 7 counts? Let me make sure I get the counts right. Putting this, 7 counts in. Is that it? Or were there 9? Nope, just 7. Oh, good for me for remembering. 7 counts, the way they've set this out, this is looking like a trial information, which is basically a paper indictment. They will put it in and file it, and then the judge will assess it like they would kind of in a grand jury situation where the judge is in the final piece to sign off. If a judge finds probable cause here, then it gets signed and it gets filed. So no grand jury. The only jury that's we're going to have here is what we call a petit jury or a trial jury. So the grand jury is only going to come in when indictments are involved. But I'm really glad you asked me that. Of his family, I haven't. Ex-son-in-law was serving. Really? Disqualified from a federal jury. Really? Disqualified your husband? Oh, that's interesting. Can you imagine the question? Oh, I mean, there's a lot. There's just a lot. Could they call Patel? That's a good, I don't know. I think he's too far removed from the situation. But, my thought is always like, get everybody. If this cabinet's going to put their fingers all over everything, then call them. That's one of the things that I think is important for the pro bono case, or the pro se cases that may be rolling out here in a little bit, is to make sure you name them and that they get served. Yep. Oh, right. Yeah, oh my gosh, oh, goodness gracious. All right, there you go, my friends. We've gone through what we actually have for information on this case. I will be watching it very closely, because, of course, it's a huge criminal case. So every post having to do with this case will be only done over here on the tube. Also, to remind everybody, I'm also doing the Newsom lawsuit over here, the California National Guard case I'll be doing over here as well, only here on the tube. Now, executive orders, and then just to give you a little preview here, everyone, I also have the criminal case against a Trump's dad and the Trump management, right? So this was that huge civil rights bad slumlord case that was done in 1975. I had multiple requests for that. So I'll be reading through that. Interesting, especially in 1975. Yikes. And then I also, because I'm carefully walking through the Epstein stuff, Epstein, it looks like Frankenstein. That's why I say Stein accidentally. But anyway, so that case too, there's some information out there. And so I'll be kind of sprinkling some of the information out. Now, of course, I can't go too far on this case with Epstein, because it's so awful. But I think it's important to revisit it so that everybody kind of knows what's going on. But with that, my friends, I will go ahead and sign off for tonight. Thank you for all of you coming and hanging out with me. I didn't even give you a heads up on this one. And y'all came over with such great questions, and hopefully a really great chat without very many trolls. Fingers crossed, right? So I appreciate it so much. Take care, everybody. I will be on the talk. Probably I'm going to try to do sub chats Sundays, but I'm really going to be coming over here quite a bit. So take care of yourselves, everybody. Oh, you had a good time. Oh, I'm glad. Good night, Navy vet. Good night, Bruce Wayne's mother. Good night, Kaya. Good night, Brian. I'm glad you could come by. Lisa, good to see you. Linnell, yes, of course. Thanks for coming. Bye, Chris. Take care, everybody, and I will see you all again very soon.